Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to continue with what we have left last week. But before we start, let us start with silent meditation to focus our mind and to kind of like put aside whatever that we have done before and haven't done. We just put aside and let us just give ourselves a moment of silence. You may remove your glasses if you have one. Let's sit comfortably. If you're sitting on a chair, please make sure that both feet is flat on the floor. That is sitting upright. Relax our shoulders. Close our eyes. Slightly tuck in our chin. Let us take a few deep breaths as we focus our mind. Observe whatever that we have in our thoughts. Even though we have our eyes closed, let us try to contemplate on the appearance of the medicine Buddha. Crystal clear with some blue image of the Buddha. And let us start with our meditation. Now let us take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in again. Breathing out. And slowly open our eyes. Gently rub our palms together. Let's cover our palms on our eyes, the top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Let's gently wrap our palms together again. Stretch our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay, you may put back your glasses if you have one. And let us start by having a quick recap of what we have covered last Saturday. We talked about the power of gratitude. So the practice of gratitude and contentment help us appreciate what we have and what we are experiencing. So we are grateful. We practice generosity and hoping others will have what we have. And this practice can also liberate us from the three poisons. It is because when we are grateful and appreciative of what we have, we won't be thinking of getting more than what we need. We'll be able to be more aware of the distinction between our necessities and our wants. Okay, if we are not practicing great gratitude and contentment, sometimes no matter how much that we have, we might still think that it is not enough. So that is reason why the three we talk about also like the greediness, and we know the main reason for greediness is because of our craving. And the word craving in Sanskrit is called in English translation that usually thirst. And it is because of craving, we will not feel satisfied. We will not be quenched with whatever that we have. So that's the reason why, as part of the Medicine Buddha's practice, we practice contentment and also be grateful with whatever that we have. Okay, so this is a quick recap of what we have discussed last Saturday. And for today, I would like to share with everyone the other important practice is precepts as our teacher. So observing precepts is the concrete manifestation of compassion and the Bodhisattva's path. When we observe precepts, okay, we learn how to be mindful of our, try to be more compassionate towards others. We practice being respectful for others. When we uphold and observe the precepts in a way that we are also practicing the Bodhisattva's path. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more in the following slides. So the Buddhist practice are special because they are mostly concerned with the cultivation of morality. So precepts is beyond the law and regulations that we abide in the society. When it comes to precepts, whatever that we do, we have to ensure that what we say and what we do are all wholesome. So that's the reason why precepts is more towards the cultivation of morality. And also the precept serves as the foundation of learning Buddhism and being a moral person. Many of us have learned the practice of three learnings. So we know that the precepts is one of the 3 foundation of practice. So for today, we are focusing on precepts. And next Saturday, we're going to focus on meditative concentration. And the following class that we have, we will focus on the cultivation of wisdom. So precepts, meditation, and wisdom, they're just like the 3 legs of it's a foundation. It's a 3 learnings. So sometimes you also come across the term threefold learning. It is because when we uphold the precepts, we also practice meditative concentration. We also do it with wisdom. Okay, so I'm going to elaborate slowly throughout the whole slides. Okay, so before we look into precepts itself, we know that when the Buddha realized full enlightenment 2,600 years ago, there was no Sangha yet. And from Bodh Gaya, the place where the Buddha realized enlightenment, the Buddha walked towards where the 5 bhikkhus, the 5 monks were practicing. Okay. So when the Buddha went to see the 5 bhikkhus, he shared with them the practice of middle path and the Four Noble Truths. And eventually, day by day, the whole Sangha continued to grow. More and more people renounced and joined the Sangha, become a monastic, become the disciple of the Buddha. So the more that the Sangha grows, sometimes there's like misbehavior among the disciples. So that's the reason why the Buddha started to lay down precepts within the whole Sangha, as in a way to ensure that all the disciples are more mindful of their daily conduct. Whatever that they do, they have to be aware whether their action, their words, others. So because of that, more and more precepts were laid down throughout the years of the Buddha as the whole Sangha grows day by day. Okay, so eventually at the age of 80, the Buddha comes to his last moments of his life. Okay, and one of the last moments was where there was a lay person by the name of Chunda. Okay, he offered the best meal to the Buddha and the whole Sangha. So the special meal that Chunda prepared is this small picture here. I believe this is a Sanskrit word, Sukara Madhava. There are 2 definitions of this dish. Okay, one, scholars they think that this has a meaning of the mushrooms, a very special kind of mushrooms where it takes some time for it to cook, and it's very nutritious and very good dish. So, but then some of the scholars say that by this word that they see, they think that it has some pork contents in it. So, but anyway, it was the last meal that Chunda has offered to the Buddha. So when the Buddha accepted that bowl of offering, the Buddha knew that this will be his last meal. And the Buddha told Chunda, the dish that you offered me, I will take it, but the rest that you have in the pot, make sure you bury them in the soul. You can offer other meals to the rest of my disciples, the Buddha said. Without doubting, without questioning, Chunda said, okay, I'll do as what the Buddha said. So when the Buddha ate that bowl of offering by Chunda, Buddha experienced diarrhea, stomach ache, and then he was in a very ill situation physically. But then the Buddha told Ananda, we are going to continue to Malasala Grove, which is in Kushinaga. So they walk and walk and walk for some time, and they rested whenever they come across river. And eventually the Buddha reached Kushinaga, and he asked Ananda to prepare a place where he can rest or sala trees. Okay, so, and of course, like the Buddha experienced lots of physical discomfort, but in the Buddha's mind, the Buddha knew that these are the changes of the physical condition. And in the Buddha's mind is always in a very calm and focused mind, okay, until the last moment of the Buddha, where the Buddha enters into parinirvana. But you can see the photo. This was a photo I've taken when we visited Kushinaga back in 2018. When I was there, as if like I can felt the presence of the Buddha. But of course, it is out of respect from deep inside. And also like I kind of like thought of, if I were be born during the Buddha's time, like it will be so great to listen to the Buddha's teachings myself. Okay, but we never know. Some of us might be born during the Buddha's time. We never know because we don't recall. But anyway, I just want to share this photo that I've taken like a few years ago. Okay, before the last moments of the Buddha actually shared the last teachings to Ananda, okay, to the whole Sangha. But this was remembered by Ananda and retold to the practitioners, okay. So eventually last teachings were being recorded as on the Buddha's bequeathed teachings. So the Buddha said, "O bhikkhus, after my parinirvana, you should reverence and honor the precepts of the Patimokkha. Treat them as a light which you have discovered in the dark, or as a poor man would treat a treasure found by him. You should know that you are your chief guide, and there should be no difference from when I yet remain in the world." So with this, this last teachings, I just take up one paragraph that is related to what I'm going to talk today. Why precepts as our teacher? It is because it is part of what the Buddha has reminded us. When the Buddha is not here, is not around, we have to treat and practice precepts as if that it is our guide, the precepts as our teacher, as if that it represents the existence of the Buddha. Okay, so that's the reason why whether we are a monastics or you are a laity or lay practitioners, or some of you, you have your family, your own career, but we always have the idea and always remember to uphold precepts. We know as a lay person, you can opt to take refuge in the Triple Gem. After taking refuge in the Triple Gem, one will opt to uphold the 5 precepts. the 5 precepts, I'm going to elaborate later. And of course, like besides the 5 precepts, when you're ready, you may take one step further in upholding the Bodhisattva's precepts. So we can see that precepts is one of a very important practice, whether we are practitioners, a monastic, or a lay Buddhist. Okay, so this is one of the last words from the Buddha. Okay, and then why precepts? Why is it important for us to uphold the precepts? One of the reasons is because of our habitual tendencies within ourselves. Earlier, I started with like why the Buddha laid down all the precepts. It is because more and more people join the Sangha. So when more and more people join the Sangha, imagine we are all coming from a different culture, different family background. We have our own ways of doing certain things. Imagine like we have the whole community staying together. We will need to find agreements among each other. Just like some of us might rent a room, rent a house. Of course, like between the tenant and the house owner, you need to sign a contract, but in a contract is mostly some of the agreements, like you promise to do this and not to do that. You have this, cover this and that. Everything were laid down very clearly. The difference between what we usually use in our daily life in a society, the rules and regulation, or even the law, comparing with the precepts. Precepts is more of the practice that focus on being mindful, being aware of our own behavior, whether whatever that we do, whether it is wholesome or not, whether we are taking one step like in others' place, or like maybe we might hurt others because of certain action. With the precepts, again and again, it reminds us to be mindful. It reminds us to be respectful of others. Okay, so here, because of the habit patterns of our mind, we tend to focus on our own interests rather than that of others. But if we apply the power of upholding precepts, we will refrain from harming others, even at the expense of sacrificing our preferences. Thus, we can see that upholding precepts can be an antidote to greed. Let me share with you an example of why it is important for us to uphold the 5 precepts. Okay, there was one time where this person was reluctant to uphold the 5 precepts. So one day he was at home, okay, and we all know that one of the 5 precepts is no intoxicant. Okay, so this man, because he was at home, nothing to do, and then he started drinking, and drinking until like one is drunk. Okay, so he has broken the precepts of no intoxicant. Okay, and further on, when he saw the neighbor, okay, through the window, her neighbor was a very beautiful lady. Okay, and greed within his mind arises, the desire, the lust that arise in his mind, and eventually he continued to break another precepts. Okay, which is no sexual misconduct. Okay, not only that, things just happened because he was drunk. Okay, he kind of like harassed the neighbor, and he even saw the neighbor has like a chicken, like walking around, and he was thinking, oh, he was hungry, he wants to eat something. And eventually he broke another precept of no killing, where he captured the chicken and cooked it. And of course, like days later, when the neighbor came back and asked what happened to the chicken, and he again broke another precept of no lying. He lied, saying that I never seen the chicken before. Okay, so with this story, we can tell that if a person, if we don't uphold precepts in our mind, in our daily life, sometimes we might think that, oh, this is not really like against the law. It's not really like a matter. But then again, morality, the precepts, if we don't uphold it, whether we experience where we go through a very formal ceremony in upholding the five precepts or not, we as a human, it is the basic for us to uphold the five precepts. It is because that is one of the main practice to ourselves of respecting others and not harming others. Okay, so in the Medicine Buddha Sutra, the Buddha said, in a future lifetime, upon my enlightenment, okay, this is actually the fifth vow of Medicine Buddha, okay, may sentient beings beyond number practice wholesome living and uphold all precepts according to my teachings. Through the commitment to actualize the Dharma, may they accomplish the Trividhani Silani, which is the three categories of Bodhisattva precepts. When beings violate any precepts, their purity can be restored and they can avoid falling into the suffering realms simply upon hearing my name. Okay, so this is the fifth vow that Medicine Buddha made when he was practicing the Bodhisattva's practice. Okay, so you might be wondering, what are the three categories of the Bodhisattva's precepts? So with this vow, we can take one step closer in knowing that when we uphold precepts, it's not just our action that matters. It's not just the words that we say that matters. It is more focusing on the mind, what we think in our mind. So before going to the details, let me share with you what I can hardly pronounce this word too. Trividhani Silani. I'm not sure if the pronunciation is correct or not. I'm still learning a little bit about Sanskrit, but basically the English is referring to the three categories of Bodhisattva's precepts, and is mainly focusing on the Mahayana Bodhisattva precepts. So which are the three? The first one, prevent wrongdoing, okay, or prevent unwholesomeness, and also which maintain both the discipline and the deportments. Okay, not only our action, but how we conduct ourselves every day. Okay, so when a person uphold precepts and being disciplined to oneself, we can actually see it by looking at the appearance of a person. We will be able to tell the difference between a person who really uphold the precepts comparing with a person might not really take the precepts seriously. Okay, that is when the deportments comes in, the demeanor of a person. Okay, so this is the first one, prevent wrongdoing. And the second one is mainly to do all the wholesome deeds. Okay, the precept vowing to fulfill all wholesome dharma and to uphold all other precepts leading to Buddhahood. Okay, so is the third one is the precepts of being beneficial to other sentient beings. Okay, so the first one is do no wrong. Okay, no unwholesomeness. The second one is try our best to do whatever that is wholesome. Okay. The third one is talking about the thoughts that we have, the mind. Okay. Whatever that we do, whatever that we say, it has to start from what we think in our mind. If every thought that we have in our mind is always thinking about how we can benefit others, will we still do something that is hurtful towards others? Will we say something that is not respectful towards others? Of course not. Because our mind, whatever that we think in our mind, if we start from our mind with wholesomeness, whatever words that we say, whatever action that we do, everything will be of wholesomeness. Okay. So that's the reason why observing the precepts is a concrete manifestation of compassion and the Bodhisattva's path. Okay. So when we talk about the three categories of Bodhisattva's precepts, I'm not sure if everyone can kind of like tie it in with what Venerable Master Xing Yun has been cultivating all this while, the 3 acts of goodness. Okay. You can see the 3 acts of goodness that is on the painting on the wall. Do good deeds, okay, speak good words, and think good thoughts. Okay. By the way, this painting on the wall was done by both Nancy and Lynette, who came all the way from Northern California to just come here and help us with this drawing of the cute monks, and of course with the earth and the Buddha tree on top, like shading everyone. Okay. So when it comes to 3 acts of goodness, we can even trace even earlier, where we always talk about do nothing that is unwholesome, do all that is wholesome, purify the mind. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. Okay, so not only Shakyamuni Buddha that emphasize on do nothing that is unwholesome, do all that is wholesome, and purify our mind. That includes all the previous Buddhas that were born as a human and realized full enlightenment in this human world. Okay, so Venerable Master Xing Yun, when he learned about this and the 3 categories of Bodhisattva's precepts, he simplified it to the 3 acts of goodness so that it is more proactive and something that we can think and we will be able to do it. Like, for example, do good deeds. Everything that we do, if we have others in our mind, whatever that we do, we always try to lend a hand whenever we can. When it comes to speak good words, we try to speak the words that are truthful. We try to say words that is not hurting others' feeling. Okay, try to say something that is wholesome. Okay, of course, the deeds and the words, it all comes from our mind. So we can cultivate from having the good thoughts, the wholesomeness in our mind first, and then everything will entail. Okay, so with this, by looking at the 3 categories of Bodhisattva's precepts, okay, and what the past Buddhas has mentioned about no unwholesomeness, do whatever that is wholesome and purify our mind, the essence of precepts here is always talking about intention. Okay, earlier, when I mentioned about the importance of upholding the precepts, I mentioned about sometimes it's because of our habit patterns. Sometimes we are being selfish. Sometimes we are being self-centered. So whenever we do certain things, sometimes we might not have others in our mind, and we might hurt others. Okay, so if when we whatever that we do, okay, we have to ask ourselves the intention that we have in our mind. If we know that the words that we say is of truthfulness, is of timeliness, it is something wholesome, then it comes from a very good, wholesome intention that we have. We say to others. And others, of course, there won't be any negative feelings arises when one hear what we say. Okay, so the intention is very important. But of course, sometimes like people might think that one can start by helping others with the mind of expecting some return. That is, I would say that is a good start. But we have to remind ourselves when we help others, when we put others before ourselves, it is not because of our self-centeredness. It's not because of what we want to achieve, but it is thinking of for others. Okay, thinking for the better, the goodness of everyone around us. So when we talk about that intention, upholding precepts, then everything entails to the practice of compassion, because compassion is the spirit of the Buddhist precepts. Okay. Even though at the initial stage, we need the precepts as a guide in terms of what we should do. But eventually, the more that we uphold and abide with the precepts that the Buddha shared with us, we will be able to train our mind and practice and cultivate more and more compassion within ourselves. Okay. And not only compassion is a huge umbrella here, that it covers many of the action, many of the words that are wholesome, that are helpful, that are considerate towards others. Okay. But it also talks about the Bodhisattva's practice, the Bodhisattva's path. When we talk about the practice of the Bodhisattva's path, we will always remember the sixth perfection, the six paramitas, which is the perfection of giving, upholding precepts, being patient, diligent, and practice meditative concentration, and eventually with all the experience that we have accumulated over times through our action, through our practice, slowly and gradually, we will accumulate and gain more personal wisdom. Okay, but everything comes from within our mind. Everything starts from the thoughts that we have. When we can be aware of our intention, okay, put aside the self-centeredness within ourselves. We try to embrace others into our mind. Then we start from a very good intention. Okay, then we will remind ourselves the main reason, the main focus of upholding the precepts. Okay, then eventually we can have a wider mindset where we practice compassion, always thinking of others before we actually do certain things, before we actually say a word towards others. Okay, so eventually whatever that we do, whatever that we say every day, we are aligned with the Bodhisattva's practice. Whether it is the six paramitas, whether it is do wholesomeness, avoid all unwholesomeness, and purify our mind or not. Okay, that is our guidance, that is our guideline. Okay, but what if we break our precepts? Okay, in Buddhism is there's always ways for us to repent. Okay, when we unintentionally hurt someone or tell a lie or do something that is unwholesome. Okay, the most important thing is we have to realize that it is not wholesome. Okay. And then with that, we have to really realize it and also try to amend it and try to make a vow so that we won't repeat the same mistake again. Okay. So in the Medicine Buddha Sutra, it says that there are sentient beings who break the precepts, even though they have received the Buddha's teachings about them. Sometimes it is intentionally, sometimes it might be unintentionally, sometimes that we might not be aware, our mind is not fine enough to contemplate on the needs of others, the mind of others. Sometimes, things just happen. Okay. There are those who broke the precepts, but it's okay. Because we are not perfect. But as long as we can learn from our experience, we can say sorry, repent, apologize to others of whatever that we have unwholesomely said or unwholesomely done towards others. Apologies or repentance is always the key. Now, besides those who break the precepts, okay, there are also those who do not break the precepts per se, but they do, however, break rules and regulation pertaining to daily lives. Okay, like for example, when we go to a certain place that you need to check in, you write down your name. And then after writing down your name, you, out of habitual tendencies, you just put the pen in your pocket, and then you go up, you go to whatever that you need to do, and then you left the place with the pen in your pocket. Okay, so this is not really like one break the law because it's just a pen. Okay, but it is out of like the precepts of no stealing, okay? Even though you might think that, this is just a small thing, don't worry about it. But if we are not being mindful of that small little action that we have done, how are we going to be aware of the thoughts that we have every single day? Okay. Sometimes we might think that, this is just a small thing, don't worry about it. But we have to remind ourselves, we have to be aware of the habits that we have. Even though you might say that this is just a pen. But if we are being mindful after signing our name and date and time, we will be able to mindfully put down the pen where it is and do whatever that we need to do in that place. Okay, we won't be following our habitual tendencies to put the pen in the pocket. Okay, so sometimes it's not like magnifying everything, but that helps us to be more aware of what we do, not to say what we say, the words that we say. Okay, sometimes the words that we say, it might be very fast. It's just whether but then the words that we say and others listen to it. And if we are not being mindful with the words that we say, someone might hurt, feel bad about it. And the power of the words are so strong that a person can remember for a long time. So sometimes there's a parable saying that if we are not being mindful of the words that we say, okay, it's even worse than the action that we have done towards others. If you say that a person were to beat up a person, the bruises might recover. But if we say words that are harmful and hurtful towards another person, the person will feel so bad, like hurt like deep inside the mind, as if like a person being cut and we put salt on the wound. And that cut will take a very long time to fully recover. not to say like the trust, the words, the promises that we are made. If we don't keep our promises, if we don't keep our words, if we just lie towards others, it's just like taking a piece of white paper and then we crumble it if we broke our promises. Even though afterwards we try to repent, we try to say sorry, but again, when you open up, stretch out the piece of white paper, what will you see? You will find the lines where this paper will be crumbled. The same goes to the effects of the words that we say. So that's the reason why it goes back to the importance of starting from our mind, okay? To be more aware, be more mindful, always embrace everything with wholesomeness, okay? So of course, like the following sentence here, then there are those who are successful in upholding the precepts and adhering to the rules and regulations of daily life, but they do not have the right view. So it takes like step-by-step degree, okay? From someone who broke the precepts until like we learn how to uphold the precepts. When we learn uphold the precepts, we are being mindful of everything, our daily conduct, and eventually it goes all the way to a very fine level of being aware of what we think in our mind, which is the right view. The right view on why we uphold the precepts, the right view in terms of the practice that we conduct every day. So for us to really uphold the precepts, we have to truly understand, okay, the reason why the Buddha laid down these precepts, just like the 5 precepts, the very basic precepts. Okay, we understand we have to have the right view in terms of the 5 precepts. Like for example, the one that everyone always asks the question is no intoxicant. So no intoxicant is not really like for the lay Buddhists, like the 5 precepts is the main foundation, fundamental precepts that one will uphold. No intoxicant is like one is not taking drugs. One is not taking too much of alcohol where a person's mind is being diluted and mind is not clear, and one will not be able to be aware of what one's doing. That is what we call intoxicant. Okay. So we have to start from the foundation of right view, right thoughts, right understanding. Okay. So in many ways, in today, you might find there are different ways for us to encourage everyone, not only that we can uphold the basic precepts, we have to go beyond the 5 precepts that we uphold. We talk about the Bodhisattva's precepts. Whatever that we do is for the consideration of others, is for the consideration of the society that we lived in, is for the consideration for the greater good of the whole nation, the whole world. So that's why sometimes you might come across different efforts that we have been promoting. One of it is Veggie Plan A, where we try to promote vegetarianism. Being a vegetarian, of course, it starts from the precepts of no killing, no, not harming animals, not killing the animals, and in a more proactive way is for us to be more compassionate towards all beings around us. So we have like, you can see like the bottom right corner here, we have like sessions of cooking classes. Okay, because we try to promote vegetarianism. Sometimes people would say, I don't know how to cook. I don't know where to start. That's the reason why we started to have like a vegetarian cooking demo, something that you can try out at home. You can try to cook for yourself, or you can just share the action of practicing vegetarianism. When we have a vegetarian meal a day, okay, we can tell how much water we can save. We can tell how much less the carbon emission because of this one meal a day. We can tell how many less trees were being cut down because we opt for vegetarian meal. So on this website, you'll be able to find that when you pledge and endorse, like how many meals that you opt to have a vegetarian diet within this year, you'll be able to tell the effects of how we can practice compassionate, not only towards ourselves, but also towards the whole earth, the whole nature, the whole environment that we're in. Everything entails starting from the precepts of no killing and practice of compassion. And from compassion, we extend our love and care, not only within ourselves, practicing self-compassion, but the compassion towards our loved ones, the compassion towards our society, our community, and so on and so forth. That's the reason why not only that, we try to have events where we can go to the beach and clean, do some beach cleaning. We even try to promote to plant trees. You can see the picture here. There are many, many efforts that we can develop from the very basic idea of upholding the precepts. It will become a very proactive initiatives in our cultivation. So these are just to name a few that I would like to share with you. So conclusion for today's sharing, okay, the true meaning of the Buddhist precepts lies in integrating them into our daily lives so that in all matters and interactions with other people, we can overcome our selfishness, return to propriety, and cultivate ourselves. Okay? And Buddhist precepts are here to protect us from wrongdoing. The Buddhist precepts are the guidelines for us to know what are the things that we should do. Okay? Lead us away from the unwholesomeness and towards what is wholesome. And lastly, by observing the precepts, we reach the goal of respecting human rights, the right to live, and of course, to liberate ourselves again from greed, hatred, and ignorance. Okay, throughout the whole sutra, you will always hear me saying that we need this cultivation, this practice will be able to help us reduce or slowly eliminate the greediness within our mind, the hatred in our mind. Of course, we slowly gain more and more wisdom, and then the ignorance will reduce a lot as we practice. Okay, so now it's time for Q&A. You have
Venerable, we have a few questions. Is it okay if I combine some of them? Or would you like me to go one by? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the first question was from Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Why did the Buddha eat the meal if he knew it was poisoned? And then she also had another question, which was about the second story that you told about the guy who was drinking. From the guy's story of drinking, lusting after his neighbor, killing the chicken, lying about it, could it be just because his character is bad? I.e., someone who doesn't have his character may just drink, be happy, and go to sleep.
Thank you, Seva, for reading out, and also, of course, like Marisa for raising such a good question. The first one is the Buddha also knew that people will have this question. Why that the Buddha knew that this is already poisonous. It's not really poisonous, but it's not fresh. The dish itself is not fresh. Okay, but the Buddha wanted to give Chunda the opportunity to cultivate this merit for him to be able to offer the last meal to the Buddha. So towards the last moments of the Buddha also tell Ananda, if one day, if a person or even Chunda himself might approach you and feeling so bad, oh, this was the last meal that I offered to the Buddha, and the Buddha enters into parinirvana because of this meal. Chunda might feel really, really bad about that. So the Buddha said before Chunda approached him. So the Buddha told Ananda, if Chunda came or even anyone who questioned this in the later days, remember to tell them that the first meal that you offered to an enlightened person right before enlightenment, the merit that one's gained is the same as the person who offered the last meal to the enlightened person, who is the Buddha. Okay. And the Buddha knew that this is part of the causes and condition that the Buddha will experience. And of course, the Buddha would like Chunda to cultivate the affinity between the Buddha and Chunda. So that's the reason why, even though Buddha knew that he will feel physical discomfort or even experience diarrhea until the last moment that he had as a human life, the Buddha still accepted. Yeah. So, and the next question is the story of the guy is just a parable. It's not I'm not sure if this really happened or not, but the reason why Venerable Master shared this parable is because so that we can be more aware and be more mindful that do not break the rules or the precepts of no intoxicant. Is because when our mind is not clear, you never know what you will do. Yeah. So it could be because when a person is drunk, is not clear in mind. It could be a person who likes to sleep a lot or who likes to gossip a lot. It's hard to imagine what will happen if a person's mind is intoxicated. Yeah, so this is what I can comment on the question.
Thank you, Venerable. Next two questions are from Chintan. Thank you, Venerable, for sharing about the Buddha's last teachings. At the end of this course, will there be an opportunity for those of us who are keen to formally take refuge in the Triple Gem and the 5 precepts? That's the first question. And then the second question was, Venerable, when you say right view, do you mean dependent origination or dependent arising?
Okay, thank you, Saba. Excuse me. So when it comes to the official ceremony for taking refuge in the Triple Gem or even the 5 precepts, if you're referring to FoGuangHuB, our Buddhist order, we will usually conduct this ceremony from time to time. But in view of we're still not really out of the woods yet in terms of pandemic, but most probably the next year, we will have a hybrid ceremony, meaning we will have in-person ceremony for those who live close in LA area. And the other side will be online ceremony for those who are not here physically. Okay. But then I strongly believe that in Chintan, where you're from, you might be able to find the local temples. I'm not sure the place where you are, whether it's close with our Buddhist order for FoGuangHuB or not, but you can always seek for a Buddhist temple, which is not too far from where you are. I'm sure that they will have this precepts upholding ceremony. Okay. And when it comes to your next question about right view is one of the practice in the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view is referring to the right understanding of the Buddha's teachings, the right understanding of the Buddha's precepts, right understanding in whatever that we do. Okay, it might include like what you mentioned, the understanding of dependent origination, impermanence, non-self. It includes all the Buddha's teachings. Okay, but when we have the right view, we have to make sure that everything is aligned with what the Buddha shared with us, which is the reality of life. Okay, like for example, when it comes to the practice, our everyday life of like sometimes we want to detach ourselves from the craving physically. Okay. During the Buddha's time, the Buddha even come across like those who like practice ascetic practice, where a person like blazing sun, and a person still like wear lots of clothing, layers of the layers, try to detach from the attachment of physical body as part of practice. The Buddha said that this is not the right view in practice. The same goes to the 6 years where the Buddha tried out the practice of taking very minimum a grain a day as part of the practice before enlightenment. The Buddha tried it out. And then the Buddha said that, by torturing the physical body is not really the way. Okay. So if a person is attached to that view, this is not right view. Yeah. So I hope that that explain a little bit and clarify a little bit about your question on right view. But you can always refer to the core teachings of the Buddha. You can look for the Noble Eightfold Path. And right view is the first one. Okay. So
Venerable, next question is from Denny. I have read in a few Western interpretations of Buddhism that the Buddha, when he was dying, also warned the Sangha not to deify him, not to make him a god once he had passed away. Is this true?
Okay, thank you, Danny. What I read from the Sutra is the Buddha emphasized mainly on the precepts and the teachings that he has shared with everyone. When the Buddha about to enter into parinirvana, the Buddha advised the disciples, okay, to have his relics in a junction, meaning that where there are people crossing. Okay, and of course we know that there are 8 great kings who took the Buddha's relics, but of course not only the relics, but the Buddha eventually advises disciples when they learn the precepts, treat it as the teaching, the teacher. Okay, when one upholds the precepts, remember of the Buddha. But the Buddha didn't mention about how do you pronounce that word?
Deification, deify, yeah.
Deify, yes.
Deify, thank you. Deify the Buddha. It's because like if we can recall, like starting from the very beginning, the Buddha said that you, I, and everyone, we are the same. Every one of us has the potential to realize full enlightenment. We have the Buddha nature. So why would the Buddha ask us to deify him? Okay, even though the Buddha, from what I read, I never come across this line saying that do not deify me from the Buddha. I haven't come across that paragraph, but you never know. But logically, based on what the Buddha shared with us before, we know that the Buddha is enlightened one. The Buddha is our teacher. Even like the last teachings that the Buddha reminded us, who will be the teacher? The precepts, the sutras, the teachings. Okay, because humans, we all are just part of dependent origination. Even the Buddha, when he realized full enlightenment with a physical body, the physical body itself is just dependently exists a very short time, 80 years. The Buddha will not use his supernatural power and stay in the human world for thousands of years. Imagine when we see the Buddha here today, how we feel. So the Buddha tried to be like us. The Buddha tried to let us see whatever that he say, whatever that he practiced is part of the reality of life that the Buddha realized. The Buddha himself, even though he fully realized enlightenment, the physical body will decay when the time comes. But within himself, he has liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So that's the reason why at the age of 80 years old, when the Buddha enters into parinirvana, if you were to read the last teachings of the Buddha, you will come across the text where the Buddha enters into different levels of meditative concentration slowly as he enters into parinirvana until he left this world when the physical body decompose or stop functioning. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answered your question, Danny. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Because of the time, if you can stay a little bit after this session, you feel free to continue with our Q&A. But I do not want to hold on the time with everyone here. Let us conclude our session for today with dedication of merit. Please join your palms. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May chant, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So I hope everyone learned a little bit from what I shared today. For next class, we are going to continue next Saturday with the topic of be where the mind is, mainly focusing on the practice of meditative concentration. So if any one of you have this book that I show on the top left of the slides for all living beings, this book explains a little bit in details of the 3 learnings, which is the upholding the precepts. And next Saturday, we're going into the meditative concentration. And the following class that we have, we will be looking at how to cultivate wisdom or prajna. Okay, so that concludes our class for today. I hope you have some takeaway from the importance of upholding the precepts. Okay. If any one of you would like to stay a little bit for the Q&A, you may do so. But if not, I'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you, Miao Zang.